And welcome to another show of Tampa Fishing Outfitters Radio Show 1040 The Team. I'm Captain Rick. I'm here with Captain Dylan Hubbard, our special guest for today. And Captain Travis is here, but he's in the back right now trying to get our Facebook comment page up so we can see the comments and respond to them. But appreciate everybody for tuning in and listening in. And it's the radio portion of this is Sunday, May 21st. So thank you guys for taking your time to listen to us. But yeah, we got Dylan here today, and this is awesome because Travis and I are inshore guys, and it's always good hearing the offshore stuff. It's usually not as crowded out there and much bigger fish, so that's always good talk for us. But thank you, Dylan, for coming in and tell us what's going on in the world of Hubbard right now.
Well, thanks for having me for one. Happy to be on the show. And offshore fishing, there is plenty of room out there, but sometimes you're not always given that room.
Yeah.
But offshore fishing's going really well right now. It's a real exciting time of year. This transitional period between winter and summer is a great time to fish. Obviously, we didn't have much of a winter this year, so it's a little bit of an odd transitional period, but we're still seeing the telltale pelagic action that we get in the spring. A lot of tuna out there right now. The kingfish, late season kings, are still around. The kings seem to be fewer and further between, but when you do find them, they're a lot bigger.
And for those of y'all that don't know, Hubbard's Marine over in St. Pete. I guess that's your actual address. Is it St. Pete?
We're actually Madeira Beach, just west of the city.
Yeah, right there by the bridge. But man, that's the name in offshore fishing in this area for years. And I mean, you can give us a history of the family and all that, but if you're not familiar with them, check them out. If you want to go offshore fishing, man, this is your hookup. These are the guys you need to see. And you guys have a variety. I mean, I know this because years ago when we were talking about this earlier, the live show, we were giving out gift certificates for fishing trips. About we didn't give them out every week, but we give them out every 2 or 3 weeks. We would give one, and there was I remember because I was the one in charge of holding that packet of tickets. It was a variety of different trips. I mean, there was all kinds, and y'all got different sized boats and all that. So if you want to tell everybody about that and what you offer and.
Well, Hubbard's Marina has been around since 1928. My great-grandfather actually started our company with rowboats and cane poles.
Right.
Yeah. And,
they still have that trip if you're interested.
That costs extra though. And we also nowadays do anything from about 2 inches of water out past 1,000 foot. But our specialty is definitely beyond the beaches, that near shore and offshore fishing. The long range deep drop trips are something unique that we started in the past 10 years or so. But we do party boat fishing from 5, 10, 12, 39, 44, and 63 hours long. And then we have a ton of private charter options. Okay. On 4 different private charter boats. We have the Flying Hub 2, which is a hydrofoil assisted catamaran.
That thing is serious too. Cool. If you haven't seen it, man, it's a different boat. It's really cool looking boat.
It's the first of its kind in the entire nation. It's the first U.S. Coast Guard inspected hydrofoil assisted fishing catamaran.
It's gnarly looking, man. It's really cool. I saw some of the build pics.
Yeah,
I was kind of following some of that. It's a really cool looking boat.
It's a fast boat too, and it handles the sea well. You fly above the water. It's very quiet. I mean, you can talk like we're talking now at 45 miles an hour on the way offshore. It's pretty unique.
That's awesome.
It's pretty cool.
It is cool.
And then we have a 60-foot hatteras for your more luxurious style charters. Yeah. And then we have the normal hub boat, which is the workhorse, does it all, does it well. And my dad actually custom built that in the late 80s for mullet fishing and crabbing. So because of that boat has 8x8 stringers.
Oh wow!
Some seriously overbuilt deck.
Wow!
And that allows for a really low center of gravity. Yeah. So I mean, even in 4 to 6 foot seas, that boat just laughs at it and stays really stable. It's a really well built boat.
That's impressive.
And that's your bigger boat, right? That's more of.
Well, the hub and the Flying Hub 2 can take up to 14 people.
Okay.
The hub can do up to 16, really. Out to 20 miles. The Flying Hub 2 can do up to 20 to 20 miles, and then up to 14 to 100 miles.
Okay.
Wow.
And then the Flying Hub 1, which is the latest custom go fast boat is like a center console with really low gunnels. It's really narrow but really long, and that one does 6 people out to 100 miles, and that's a really unique fast.
So that's more like your middle grounds style,
yeah,
run and gun.
The Flying Hub 1, the Flying Hub 2 are long range boats. The Flying Hub 2, because it can take so many people, we do like party boat style trips on that because it has party boat permits twice a week, which is our 12-hour extreme trip, which offers 6 to 7 hours of fishing, 70 to 100 miles from shore, and basically allows an angler that can't do our 39 or 44-hour trips that same style of middle grounds fishing, but in a daytime trip.
Right.
So that's been popular, and then we also have the private charters on both of those boats. And then the Mrs. Hub, if you have a long time, you could do a 39 or 44 or 63-hour trip and get out there to that same area, but in much more style and comfort.
Yes, take your time, go about it easy.
That's what I'm talking about. That's me. I'm more.
I'm with you on that. Jason would be the run gun.
I want to drink a cup of coffee on the way out.
Jason would be the run gun. We got to get there. We got to get there. Come on, lines in the water.
That boat actually has silk sheets, gold leaf sinks, granite countertops,
full
kitchen.
Man,
it's a lot more like cruising than fishing. It's nice.
That's nice, man. Yeah. That's all. That's good stuff. And I know that you guys cover it from top to bottom, man, and do a really good job of doing it. Been around for a while. Real quick, and I know we're probably getting close on time on our first segment. We got a couple more minutes. 5 minutes. Okay, so we're way good. Let's talk a little bit about.
You weren't out there that long.
I know. It seemed like a long time, but let's talk a little bit about fishing. Since we're talking some of this offshore stuff, I'm going to roll it back over to Dylan and just tell us a little bit about what's been hot, what you guys are doing, and kind of what's the best thing going right now offshore and what you guys are offering.
Well, right now the best thing going is definitely those hogfish near shore trips where you can catch plenty of hogfish. You have a chance for some of those red grouper, a lot of snapper action to fill in the gaps, and then you have that occasional kingfish, tuna action. And right now, you even have a good chance for billfish this time of year.
Up in tight like that.
We've caught billfish as close as 3 miles from the beach.
Right.
Really?
And this time of year is definitely the time of year to get them.
Wow.
Brian Hassan got one a few weeks ago. Billy Nobles got one two or 3 weeks ago, and we had a marlin chasing a 30-pound wahoo like it was like a ballyhoo. It was pretty crazy.
That's gnarly.
Didn't have them hooked. Tried hard, but it was cool to see. So,
just to see some of that stuff, especially where we're at, what we're used to, seeing. Have you guys seen? I know some of the guys in the bay, and including myself, have started to see and catch some of these big mangrove snappers starting to slide in. Have you guys seen some of the mangoes starting to get a little bit bigger, starting to show up?
We catch really big mangrove snapper out in that deep water. On a 39-hour, I think about 4 or 5 trips ago, we got one in the 12-pound range.
Wow.
So they're out there.
That's a moose.
Yeah, they're big, and this time of year we see them real big. April, May, they get real big, and then in June, July, August, we see a lot of them. That spawn starts, and you catch a lot of mangroves. Very aggressive, very plentiful. And then September, they kind of slow down, back off a little bit. And then in the wintertime, it goes back to that. They're scattered here and there, but typically they're a lot bigger when you do catch them.
Right. Yeah, because I know, it's a staple of some of our summertime fishing here in the bay, especially on some of these full moons. These fish will come in and do their deal, and there's some good rock piles inside Tampa Bay that, granted, no, I've never caught a 12-pounder, but a good 4 or 5 pound, mangroves are not uncommon at all, especially a box. You get a box of them sometimes if you get them just right here inside the bay, and so that's something that I'm looking forward to. Not quite the offshore experience, but certainly the offshore table fare.
Well, it's really unique because especially with the way the regulations have gone offshore, a lot of people are using lighter tackle. And mangrove snapper, the same way you're fishing mangroves in the bay in 20 foot of water, is the same way we're fishing mangroves out in 180 foot of water.
Right.
And you're right, on those full moons, the mangrove snapper bite is crazy over any kind of mitigation rock pile, any type of artificial reef. Or if you've got some really big ledges, that's the area where they just get thick. And at full moon is a great time to come out and do a charter or do a trip. We have a 12-hour night mangrove snapper trip on the party boat, and then you can always get with a few buddies and do a private charter as well. And those private charters in the hub or Flying Hub 1 or Flying Hub 2 on those full moons really destroy some really
I can
nice
imagine.
mangroves.
Especially if you get some decent weather, too. You get a good clear sky, man.
And gag grouper around the corner. A lot of people make the mistake. You can't catch red grouper at night. They're one of those species that don't really feed well at night. At night, they spread out. They leave that hard rock bottom. They're out over shell and sand, scavenging. So, A, they're hard to find at night, and B, typically they're not going to feed as well for you. But gags at night, they fight.
Gangster.
Seriously, and they're ready to go. So with gag grouper opening June 1st, American red snapper opening June 1st, it's a great time of year to start looking at those 12-hour night trips and booking your own charters. But red snapper, do not bite at night. Opposite of red grouper.
Really?
So, or same as red grouper. Red grouper and red snapper seem to kind of hang out in the same area and bite similarly. They're thick, and occasionally you do catch a few stupid ones at night, but the red snapper are mostly a daytime bite.
Well, very good. Well, we need to take a break. We're up against the break right now. And I noticed on our comments we got David Duffy's got a trip booked with you guys in October, so that's pretty cool. But we're gonna take a break, pay some bills. This is Tampa Fishing Outfitters Radio, 1040 The Team. We'll be right back.
And we are back. You're listening to Tampa Fishing Outfitters Radio Show on Sports Talk 1040 The Team. Myself, Captain Travis Yaeckel in the studios with special guest, Captain Dylan Hubbard from Hubbard's Marine, and our weatherman,
Weather Tight
Rick,
Mike.
Big Country,
Hey,
coming in and going to give us a little weather
we'll
report
give you some
here.
tides and weather
Let's
here
hear
for
it.
Sunday, May 21st. We'll go with the tides first. Low at, well, if you're listening, it's already been low. It was low at 5:56. It was at 0.59. It's going to be high at 12:22 at 1.57. Low at 7:15 p.m. 0.46. And this is all these tides are taken at Shell Point on Tampa South Shore. And as far as the weather, it's 92 is the high, 73 is the low, mostly sunny with southeast winds at 10 to 15, and there's a 20% chance of rain today.
That sounds about average.
That's
about average. That's about what we've been fishing in. It seems like any more 10 to 15 is the new 5 to 8.
Yeah.
I mean,
It seems to be.
it's like,
seems to be.
oh, it's 10 to 15. Ah, well, that's
whatever.
normal.
Just
you
another
know.
nice day.
But no, that's good. I mean, mostly sunny is a good thing. You know, I know everybody's wanting some rain, and it may do us some good, but I mean,
We need some rain.
we do need some rain, but
need
it seems
some
like
rain.
we're right on that borderline where these afternoon thunderheads are going to start coming, and
My lawn's ready.
tarpon
Yeah.
fishing,
Yeah.
sometimes it just makes that afternoon hilltide a bear to fish through.
It's-
But
Yes.
with that being said, we really do need some rain bad.
Yeah.
Well, guys,
I'll give up a trip or two for rain.
well, yeah,
I really will. As much as the bank don't want to hear
and
that.
we
but,
sure
man,
do need some rain. That is
Things
for
are going to
sure.
start burning
Yeah.
if we don't get some rain.
Or
Yeah.
keep burning.
Yeah,
Yeah,
keep burning.
keep burning.
That's exactly right. But well, guys, we if you're just joining us in or joining in with us, we've got Captain Dylan Hubbard in the studio, and he's going to tell us a little bit. He's been a recently appointed board member of the Florida Guides Association. He's also active in FWC and everything going on out there, not only to support what he's doing as a business, but to support all of us as recreational anglers. And so he's stepped up and you know, came to us and offered a service to be able to serve and better the fishing community and better everybody's fishing in the future. So I'm going to kind of pass it over to him.
And before you do, Dylan, look at that response there. He's kind of asking you what he can expect. Maybe you can touch on that.
On our 63-hour trip, David, you can expect a good time. One of the biggest things with the 63-hour trip, we try to do a little differently than I don't know anybody that we've heard do it. Is my dad, Capt. Mark Hubbard, will run those trips for you, David. Either myself or Captain Brian or one of the other guys will be our second captain. But he will call you a day or two before the trip, give you an outline of what he plans to do, where he plans to run, how he plans to fish, and then he'll also go over again the tackle and what you should expect and have ready. But in general, for the 63 hour, you definitely want to have that electric reel. Some people try fishing it without it. I wouldn't want to reel up from 900 foot of water with 3 30-pound snowy grouper on my line, hand cranking. Definitely a tough time. So definitely want to try to have that electric reel. I like the Daiwa Tanacom 1000 personally. A stand-up rod is nice. A lot of people ask if they should have a bent butt or a stand-up with a hard butt or just a regular grouper stick. I personally put my electric reels on a regular grouper stick, a thicker one, so that way it has a foam butt so I can hold it like I'm grouper fishing. I personally enjoy feeling that fish. You can have a bent butt rod, but you're going to set that rod in a rod holder and press a button and wait for that fish to come to the surface.
No fun.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, no fun. But it does work well for trolling, so some people will buy the rods that you can switch out the butts. Personally, I like a grouper stick with the foam butt. I can hold it up under my arm. I can troll with it if I want to. It's a good all-around setup for your electric reel. Besides the electric, David, you definitely want to have a pitch rod ready. A lot of times on that trip, we'll run into some mahi schools. We'll run into cobia. One of our first trips, we ran into a big barrel that had fallen off some oil tanker somewhere, and it had probably about, I would say, close to 100 triple tail on it. We were 120 miles from the closest shore and just triple tail everywhere. It was nuts.
Wow.
With big bull mahi below those and some wahoo as well. So definitely want to have a pitch rod ready if we come across anything like that.
If you're not in shape, David, get in shape.
Yeah.
You got
It's
till
coming,
October
buddy.
because
You got a
it sounds
marathon
to me
to
like
run.
you better be toned.
Yeah, and October's a good choice, David. It's a great time of year for those deep water grouper, and typically October 63 hours have been some of our better ones. So you're in for a treat. Besides your electric and pinch rod, if you have a different trolling setup, that's always a good idea. There's a lot of trolling to be had during that trip. Maybe a little 4-aught for some of your flat lining, plenty of big pelagic swimming by. You can use that as your snapper setup as well. And if you have more questions, you can always check out Hubbard's Marina on our Facebook page or shoot me an email. I like your comment. Yeah, you can hang crank if you'd like, and that's ironic you said that because the last guy we had hang cranking on the trip was from New York, Northeast area. You guys do a lot more deep drop.
He actually ate gunpowder for breakfast too.
Yeah, a lot of guys in the Northeast do a lot of deep water fishing, so for them, hand cranking out
It
of
might
600-800
not be that big a
foot
deal,
is
man.
not that big a deal.
I like it. Man up. Hey, David, we don't want to see no electric reels from you, buddy. You better man up, man. We want to see pics.
You've set the bar.
I'm making a note on your reservation now.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But,
Back to what we were talking
yeah,
about. as
let's
far as the
go
regulations.
over that, man, because like I said, Florida Guides Association is really excited to have Captain Dillon on board and come on with a serve and provide a lot of value for the not only the Guides Association, but like I said, for recreational anglers all over the state. So I'd like you to kind of talk a little bit about what your position is and kind of what you're doing and the stuff you're dealing with.
Well, at Florida Guides Association, I was honored to be asked to sit on the board, and haven't still new to it, so I haven't
Sure.
really made a bunch of inroads yet. But my goal and my hope is to bring some of the offshore information and ideas to the Guides Association, and to try my best to help kind of mix up the focus there as far as offshore fishing and what we got going on in the Gulf, because there's not many groups out there fighting for recreational anglers, and Florida Guides Association does a great job of it. You don't have to be a guide to join now.
Right.
You do have the associate membership or angler membership, so you don't have to be a captain to join Florida Guides anymore. So definitely recommend checking them out. If you go to our website, hubbardsmarina.com, and click info, we have a regulations page so you know what's going on for federal waters, and right on the top of our regulations page is a link to go check out Florida Guides and how to join. You can always ask me for more information as well. But as far as what we got going on in the Gulf in federal waters, it's not pretty. NOAA's National Marine Fisheries is dividing and conquering our fishery, and by they're doing that is easily splitting up our sectors. They're dividing out commercial guys have been divided for a long time, many decades. Now sectors have been separated in recreational angling. Now you have commercial guys, for-hire guys, and rec guys.
Yeah.
So if you want to go fishing for red snapper this June, there's 4 different seasons you got to keep an eye out for. And it makes life difficult. And not only that, through that division, their anglers are fighting amongst each other instead of looking at what's really the problem, which is NOAA's National Marine Fisheries, their ability to close species during mid-season based on poor data that they admit is flawed data. And then no oversight, no checks and balances. And unfortunately, recreational anglers as a whole, again, not generalizing or stereotyping, but typically when you go to these National Marine Fisheries meetings, I've been going to them since I was a kid. Probably since I was about 10 years old was my first one, and I'll never forget. Half the room's commercial guys fighting for their piece of the pie, half the room's charter headboat guys fighting for their piece of the pie, and you've got 2 recreational guys sitting in the back that don't say anything. Or if you're lucky, even 2. Sometimes there's no recreational guys. So unfortunately, the recreational angler doesn't have a lot of people attending, getting involved, getting educated. Luckily, there's guys like the Florida Guides Association. They do a lot of great work. You have the Fishing Rights Alliance, who does a lot of great work. And you have a few recreational anglers that are out there fighting for your rights to fish. And here at Hubbard's Marina, we've been fighting for your rights to fish for many, many years, since I was a kid, and my father before me and my grandfather before me. But unfortunately, we've been forced out of the recreational angling sector through sector separation, which is something we fought hard against, and fought hard against it when it came up during the sunset provision when they were going to renew it. 75% of for-hire anglers actually fought against that sector separation, and because our sector is so small, it was kind of forced down our throats no matter what we did. So it was sad to see, and unfortunately, as I identify with recreational anglers, and this 3-day season is just ridiculous for red snapper. And I attribute that mainly to a few different things. A, the flawed data. B, anglers not being united. There's no
voice.
Yeah, everybody's fighting against each other, and recreational anglers are as a whole apathetic to the situation. And then C, no checks and balances in NOAA's National Marine Fisheries. And then you could even add in there D, all the states this year are out of compliance. So those ingredients made that 3-day season.
Yeah. You got a bad cake.
Yeah, and I mean, look at Amberjack. We had a 3-month season for Amberjack, and when they closed Amberjack, I went to the National Marine Fisheries when they closed it, and their explanation was, "Oh, you guys were catching too many Amberjack," and they actually put out a paper that stated that one boat ramp in the Panhandle of Florida, 9 out of 10 boats that were coming to that boat ramp were limited out on Amberjack. And that 9 out of 10 of those boats, their limit of amberjack, they caught a boat limit, and their average weight was 60 pounds or greater. Do you know of a boat ramp where 9 out of 10 boats come in with a boat limit?
But that's the boat ramp that I would be fishing out of.
Yeah, for real. Apparently we all do, because we have a lot of great trips, and I don't know, I wouldn't even begin to start to say 9 out of 10 of our trips come in with the boat limit with a 60-pound average or better. That's just unheard of, especially at a public boat ramp. And these are the kind of numbers they're using to close down our $1 million fishing industry. And not only does it hurt us as a for-hire person, but it hurts the rec guys, it hurts the bait shops, it hurts the people, the gas stations.
The industry as a whole, whatever's attached to it, I agree.
Huge economic.
Yeah. I agree.
So definitely got to get educated, got to get involved, got to stand up for your rights to fish. Join the Florida Guides Association. If you don't have the $35 to join a lot of these groups, or Florida Guides I think is around there, you can always check out, I have a little group going called Fishermen United, which is just a free Facebook group, and it's a great way for guys to kind of share their insights, and I'm trying to get that information across to everybody and promote that unity.
Awesome.
And I wonder what the guys in Mexico, what they're doing to help the fishery in the Gulf of Mexico.
You know, and
I got a feeling it's a free-for-all over there.
Not a whole lot.
Yeah, and what's ironic is people a lot of times will say that, and I went to Costa Rica with the Real Animals a while back, and their anglers, the Costa Rican captains that we had fishing, were some of the biggest conservationists I've ever seen.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
They
I
literally,
agree.
there was a Taiwanese long lining boat, and the captain of our boat went over to that long line, cleated off the end of the long line, dragged it out, tied it in a knot, and then cut it in half and let it sink. And I'm like, that boat's coming over here. And he was like, our boat's faster, don't worry. While they were sitting there waving AKs at us. So, I mean, fishermen and hunters, sportsmen alike, are the biggest conservationists.
Without a doubt.
It's
ever.
our duty.
And it's unfortunate that Noah's National Marine Fisheries has gone to these extremes and let lobbyists and special interest groups.
But I'm talking
like
about,
EDF and Q
I was
in there.
talking more about the commercial guys on the other side of the Gulf.
Yeah.
Those guys, they're not following no.
No, that's lack of education and just lack of.
We're fishing the same
you know,
fish.
Yeah, no,
You know,
it's a,
Fish move.
they do move.
So,
but
anyway. I think
speaking
we
of
gotta
move,
take a
guys,
break.
we're going to have to move real quick. We're going to take a little break. I know we're marching along here. We appreciate you listening in, and we got a couple more segments here on the show. So stay tuned, and when we get back, we're going to be talking more fishing. You guys listen to Tampa Fishing Outfitters radio show on Sports Talk 1040 The Team. Hang tight. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Tampa Fishing Outfitters radio show, 1040 The Team. I'm Captain Rick with Captain Travis and Captain Dylan from Hubbard's, and we're talking fishing. We kind of got an offshore flavor tonight, and focusing on that a little more than we normally do on our inshore stuff. But it's a good change of pace for me.
It's a good change of pace,
enjoying
Rick,
this.
and it's a needed change of pace because it's something that, you know, a lot of guys just don't. I hate to say it, but a lot of guys just don't pay attention to it. It tends to, you know, attract a different crowd of people that are interested in that. Not that it's a bad thing, but a lot of guys, especially in the Bay Area, just don't get offshore as much as most people. So,
offshore fishing, in my opinion, is a lot of fun because you drop down a line, you don't know what you're going to catch.
No
Along
clue.
with Tampa Bay.
100%.
What we were talking about before the break was those regulations, and you're right. A lot of people that inshore fish don't offshore fish, and a lot of people that freshwater fish don't saltwater fish. But these things that are happening in the Gulf of Mexico's fishery through Noah's National Marine Fisheries out-of-hand regulation, that's gonna creep into these inshore bays.
That's where I was going with it. Is that's a stepping stone.
Oh yeah, I
And
mean, you watched it creep down. It started in Alaska with the crab fisheries. It started in Maine and the Northeast with the stripers and fluke, and it slowly moved down the Atlantic. Now the South Atlantic, right now, you're allowed one hogfish per person with a 14-inch minimum. You're allowed one gag grouper per person with a 24-inch minimum. And you can bet that those strict out-of-hand regulations are going to creep around the tip of Florida into the Gulf of Mexico. And when they're done with the Gulf, where do they have left to go?
Yeah.
The inside bays.
They're going to just creep inshore. And I agree with you. And especially, you know, and can you imagine if they get infiltrated in that side of things?
Yeah.
I mean, just look at the issues that we've had down south with Okeechobee and the clean water and all that kind of jazz. When that whole thing gets boiled into regulations and fisheries, it can get into a really nasty situation, especially lobby and money and everything else that goes into it. So
the one hope is, and the one benefit is inshore waters. You definitely have a lot easier time doing stock assessments. To do a red snapper stock assessment in the Gulf of Mexico is pretty hard.
Well, and it takes the federal out too, and it gives it to the states.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's
right. You get local
and
involved.
the FWC does a really great job. Anybody listening at home, again, don't get that confused. Noah's National Marine Fisheries controls federal waters.
That's right.
All these issues are with Noah's National Marine Fisheries. The FWC does a stellar job. For example, Noah's National Marine Fisheries state that 70% of your discarded catch dies. That's the 70% mortality rate. So if you catch 10 red snapper and you throw back 8 of them, because you're only allowed to keep 2,
right,
70% of those 8 you threw back die. and that's counted in against our quota. That's taken out of our bag limit as if you took them at home in your
Right.
cooler.
That's
Right.
crazy.
That's
Whereas-
That's
ridiculous.
just crazy.
Whereas FWC's mortality rate is closer to 20%. And FWC went out on our boat and fished on our boat in front of us on the same areas that we fished for these red snappers. We caught fish, caught snapper, released them into a cage, dropped that cage to bottom, came back 24 hours later and picked up the fish. The mortality rate was like 18%. So hard science that I watched
Yeah.
personally during the hottest time of the year,
Yeah.
where the mortality would be at its peak,
Right.
was only 18%.
And you're talking hot temperature wise,
Yeah.
not hot.
Yeah.
hot
Right.
Yeah, hot
Fishing-wise.
temperature wise. So to see that stark discrepancy is disturbing, to say the least. And that mortality rate of 70% that the National Marine Fisheries used, I was told this, I haven't verified it, but I was told that comes from we lost our camera.
I lost cameras. We're good. Keep rolling.
I was told that 70% mortality rate came from a study they did on a long lining vessel fishing 600 foot of water. So fishing 600 foot of water and fishing our near shore, offshore waters, which is typically less than 200 foot,
Right. Big
is
difference.
huge difference. Well, a 70% mortality rate in 600 foot of water makes a lot of sense. That's
Sure.
probably true, if not
There's
a
not
little bit
much
higher.
that can survive
Yeah.
that.
Once you get dragged up through 700 feet of water, you're pretty much shot.
Especially with
Electric
David
reels.
cranking on him with that mechanical reel, because he's bringing them up.
45
buddy.
minutes later.
He is bringing them up, son. Oh my goodness. Now, real quick, as you were talking there, Dylan, I was just kind of thinking about things that have came up on the show, and one of the things that gets commonly talked about and just rubbing shoulders around is that federal line.
Yeah.
Federal line. Let's say I'm running out from Egmont and I'm going out and I'm going to do some offshore fishing. At what point am I in federal waters?
Well, between
Or
offshore
does
and
the
nearshore,
federal fishery start to come into play?
there's called an EEZ.
Yep.
If you pull out your chart, it's a red line that goes around the coast of Gulf of Mexico, and that is where the official 9-mile mark is.
Right.
But if you use your cursor on your GPS and cursor to the nearest point of land, typically 9 miles out from that nearest point is that EEZ line. Some GPS, you do have the option to turn that line on so you can fish inside of it. But anybody with any kind of sense will tell you just don't get near that line.
Right.
Especially if you're keeping red snapper
Right.
out of federal season.
Yeah.
A lot of guys are talking about it because, again, state of Florida has a 70-plus day red snapper season. But in federal waters, you're only allowed 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
Now, 3 years ago, you couldn't catch a red snapper unless you were 100 foot or deeper.
Right.
5 years ago, you couldn't catch red snapper unless you were 130 foot or deeper. 20 years ago, what's a red snapper?
Right.
40 years ago, my grandfathers would have called you crazy talking about red
Right.
snapper here in the central west coast of Florida. So the red snapper are a conservation success story in the
Sure.
Gulf of Mexico, and they're not treated as such. All that to say, you can catch keeper-sized red snapper inside state waters. Now, if you're on my boat, which is a federally permitted vessel, even if I catch a keeper red snapper at my dock on my boat,
You can't.
I cannot keep it because I have to follow fed
Federal,
laws.
right.
But if you're on a personal boat without fed permits and you have a state fishing license, you can keep red snapper as long as it's inside that FWC season. But it's very dangerous because if you bring a red snapper back to the dock, any law enforcement officer is going to immediately think you're beyond 9 miles.
Right.
Right.
So I would log it in your log. I would take pictures of your GPS. I mean, I would dang near videotape your whole
Yeah.
trip because
Yeah.
you will have to go to court, most likely, and have to fight that. And that's a pain in the butt. But if you want to go keep red snapper, that's about the only way you could do it now.
As Rick would say, well, that's one way to do it.
That's one way to do it.
But like you said, Dylan, it's not something that you want to flirt with.
No, definitely.
You're better off, calling the guys at Hubbard, getting you a trip set up. I know
Yeah.
it's a small window, but
Well, again, sector separation was terrible. We fought hard against it. We didn't want it, but it was forced down our throat. The bittersweet side of sector separation is we do have a 49-day season.
okay.
So red snapper, if you're on a federally permitted for-hire vessel, is June 1st to July 20th at 12:01 a.m.
Okay.
So effectively
Okay.
July 19th.
So the 3 day is a recreational.
So recreational.
Okay, I
Yeah.
misunderstood that.
Yeah, and a lot of people do, and that's again part of the
Well, that's
problem.
a good thing. That's a good thing for you, and it even boasts.
It's a bad thing. It's that 49-day season
I guess
is
it could
bad
be
for our
3-3.
fishery. But yeah, it could be 3-3, and we fought hard to keep it 3-3 because when you start dividing and conquering our fishery, it's bad.
Okay.
Because it's easier for them to stuff things down our throats. Like IFQs are right around the corner in the 4-hour sector. Everybody complains about the red snapper barons in the commercial sector. Well, they are only red snapper barons because of NOAA's National Marine Fisheries. They forced IFQs on the commercial sector over a decade ago. And that same management box that they use for commercial is being forced into the for-hire sector, and soon thereafter forced into the recreational sector. So we're not far from having IFQs, and we'd have a 365-day red snapper season. We'd have a 365-day jack season. We'd have 365 days of gag season. That might seem like a good idea, but that's terrible. And even if you got a lot of quota, and even if you were able to fish them every day, it's still not good for the fishery.
Now, do you see a lot
That makes sense.
Do you see a lot of? I mean, do they hang around your docks and check y'all out a lot, or is it?
On our long range trips, when we go out past 100 miles or out past 70 to 80 miles, we typically have an FWC officer or FWC biologist riding along on our trips almost every trip.
Really?
And we invite them along. We work hard with them. We give them a big break so that way their research dollars can go further. And now FWC is empowered by NOAA's National Marine Fisheries to enforce federal laws. So as far as enforcement, do we have people boarding our boat to enforce laws?
Right.
No. We don't see that a lot. Occasionally we'll have the Coast Guard cutters come up on us offshore and do some checking, but most of the time it's just the biologists we have on board.
Which is good, though. I mean, that's a
it's
good
great.
relationship to have.
Yeah.
Because we, inshore, we don't see them.
Yeah.
I mean, I tell you, like, some of that too is that we don't visit boat ramps. Like, I know when I first started guiding, I ran out of a boat ramp, but you do see them at the boat ramps a lot, taking studies. But
I'm talking about
again,
enforcing. You can go see Billy Weed at the boat ramp and throw a redfish at him, and he'll cut the olaf bone out and do all that good
Right.
stuff, and that's great. That's.
But I thought you were talking about biology. You're talking about enforcement.
I'm talking about enforcement.
Well, that's a whole different story.
And
I mean, it's
I know they're
now
they
offshore.
try. They're just they're just thin on staff. I wish we had more guys riding around checking boats and doing that kind of
and
thing.
it's difficult.
Well, you don't see NOAA's National Marine Fisheries. There is no National Marine Fisheries enforcement boats. There's one or two in the Gulf, but not many. They've empowered FWC to enforce their laws.
Okay.
So an FWC boat pulls up on you, they can enforce federal law just like if you were out past 9 miles.
But you don't see that a lot?
You don't see them a lot. And technically, because we're U.S. Coast Guard inspected vessels,
They probably just give you
FWC
like
cannot board us. Only the United States Coast Guard can board us offshore because passenger safety is paramount.
Yeah.
So stopping the boat to allow a boarding party to board is something we can put off until we're closer inshore and protected waters.
Sure.
But offshore, you got to remember, if you're beyond that 9 mile mark, there's a few different people that can pop you. The FWC can do it, the United States Coast Guard can do it, and again, those one or two National Marine Fisheries boats in the Gulf can do it. So offshore, disobeying the laws, a lot of people make jokes about fly and release. Well, the Coast Guards have drones that look like seagulls.
I've heard that, yeah.
And I've heard it and I've seen it. I've seen
That's
it.
crazy.
They have drones that look like seagulls, so good luck trying to break those laws.
Good luck trying to break.
Well, no, I'm for it. I wish we had more coverage.
So that's what all them damn turns are around my boat. They're all
Rick's
they're all
drones.
spies, man. They're all spies. But well, guys, we are blabbing right along here, and we're flying through the show, and we appreciate it. We're going to take a quick break because our board op is telling us to take a break. So when we get back, we got one more segment. We're going to do the Captain's Tip of the Week, and we're going to hear some more stuff from Captain Dillon. So stay tuned, and when we get right back, you're going to be listening to more Tampa Fishing Outfitters radio show on Sports Talk 1040 The Team.
Stop by Tampa Fishing Outfitters today and check out our Ohiro product line. Rods, reels, fluorocarbon lines, braided lines, hooks, and much more. Packed with an incredible inventory of over 10,000 items in stock. Tampa Fishing Outfitters is the perfect destination for any of your fishing needs. We also carry a great selection of sunglasses and fishing apparel. Our knowledgeable guides are here to answer all of your questions and to repair your rods and reels. Visit any of our 3 convenient locations for all of your fishing needs. Tampa Fishing Outfitters. If we don't have it, you don't need it.
What time?
Welcome to Tampa Fishing Outfitters radio show.
Every 2 hours.
We are getting back, and it's been a good time here, guys. We appreciate Cap Dillon coming in, and he's got we were kind of prepping him to give us a come on man here, and so through the breaks here, we've been kind of throwing a couple back and forth, and we just heard a pretty good one. I think that's a pretty good one.
That's
so
pretty good.
Yeah.
We're gonna translate our tip of the week into the come on man. We're gonna let Captain Dylan tell us a couple that they. I'm sure I can only imagine how many you guys hear because we get them and we're just solo. So
Yeah.
I can only imagine how many good ones you guys have had over the years.
Well, I'm blessed to be in a position to where I answer all our social media inquiries. I answer all our email inquiries. Any kind of questions that are difficult on the front end up on my desk. So I see a lot of these. And names will stay hidden here, but one of my favorites that happens more than you would think is we do a lot more than just fishing at Albert's Marina Head. So we have a sunset cruise with free beer and wine that's hugely popular. One of my favorite questions is, how many sunset cruises do you run in a day? Well, the sunset sets once, so it'd be one.
That would be a tough answer.
My other
It's like,
favorite
here's
is,
your sign.
Yeah, my other favorite is, you have an 8 o'clock half day. Okay, well, what time does the boat leave?
Oh,
What?
gosh. Come on, man. Come on, man.
Yeah. And then they'll show up 10 minutes. It's 8:10, and it's an 8 o'clock half day. Oh, well, I thought we were supposed to get here at 8. It's like, well, it's past 8:10.
Yeah,
that's
right.
why the boat's
That's
gone.
right.
What? The boat's gone? You left me?
Road out, man. Road out.
So-
It's yeah. I can only like if we did that. Like you guys get a little more leeway, man. You can just, boom, go.
Well, on a party boat, I mean,
You can't stop the
you
the
have
parade,
other groups
man.
on the boat. So
Yeah.
the name of the game is making everybody as happy as you can.
Yeah.
And holding the boat for one person to make 55 other people upset is
that's
not wise.
I'm gonna start doing that though, Rick. When that guy goes up to Little Harbor to take a leak before we go. Yep. 9 o'clock. We're out of here.
Yeah, that won't work for us.
Yeah, on the private charters, we have to be a little bit more flexible, and the boat waits for the private charter client. But on the party boat, you got to leave, and we actually have a float plan, so it gives us a great leg to stand on when someone gets upset. Is, hey, this is a United States Coast Guard inspected vessel. The
Right.
Coast Guard is supposed to know when we leave, when we come back,
That's right.
and I must abide by my float plan up to the
right.
minute.
Yeah.
So, hey, I can't wait 10 minutes for you. The Coast Guard's going to get upset. So it gives me a good excuse
Got to
every
go.
now and again.
Well,
Gotta go.
like you said, you got 55 people. You can't wait for a
No,
two-shooter roll.
no.
Yeah.
But well, guys, like I said, we've jam-packed a lot of stuff in here today, and talking a lot of different stuff about the offshore stuff, which, quite frankly, I've learned a lot, to be honest with you. So I appreciate you bringing that stuff
For
to
sure,
us.
yeah.
Because honestly, man, outside of jumping on the boat and going out and putting lead on and dropping to the bottom and doing some offshore fishing, I don't guide out there. I don't charter a boat out there. So there's a lot of different stuff going on, and I think it's like you said, it may not impact everybody directly,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, at
It
the
will.
end of when all this stuff is said and done, if you don't protect what's ours now, it will be gone, and
Yeah.
they're just going to keep creeping in on it. So.
The people funding NOAA's National Marine Fisheries, their ultimate goal is closing fishing. So if we sit back and relax and watch this happen, and you inshore guys are sitting there thinking, hey, I don't fish for red snapper, what do I care? Well, they're eventually going to come after
That's
you
right.
guys. And we got to get united. You got to get educated. You got to get involved. And getting educated is easy through groups like FGA, FRA, CCA. You can join that group. Their newsletter is going to keep you involved. One of the reasons I got involved with FGA was the newsletter Captain Charlie puts out is so in depth. Their website has so much information, and it's a great resource if you're sitting there thinking, well, how do I get involved? What's going on? Go check out the website. Go check out and sign up for the newsletter. It's a great way to stay in tune, keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on out there. And then get involved by telling your buddies to go check out the website. Tell your buddies to go join these groups. Tell your buddies to come join you at the meeting. And a lot of people just want to sit back and complain on social media about it. I mean, I got death threats when they announced a 49-day for-hire sector season and a 3-day red snapper season for
Really?
recreational. Death threats. And I'm sitting there, it makes me so hot because where were you when I was screaming that I did not want to be separated from the recreational sector? Where were you the 3 years that we were begging recreational anglers to stand up and get involved and fight against this? So I really just, at this point, I take it with a grain of salt, and it's sad. I still fight hard for the recreational anglers, even though I'm not in the rec sector. But I will not feel bad as that season gets lower and lower if the recreational anglers as a whole don't start getting involved, educated, and start standing up for their rights.
I agree. And you bring a good point to it, Dylan, and by you coming up and stepping up and serving on the board, I think you authenticate some of these offshore guys to maybe join on, because, I know...
And a lot of people don't know the avenues to get involved with
the Florida Guides Association is probably... I know it is probably the best gateway for whether you're a rec guy, whether you're an offshore guy, whether you're, an inshore fishing guide, offshore charter captain, whatever, to get involved, because guys like Dylan, guys like Charlie, Jason, Danny Barrow over on, all these different guys, we don't get paid. You're not getting paid to do this. You're doing this because it's the right thing to do, and somebody's got to do it. Yeah. And we appreciate you stepping up to do it. And the least everybody can do out there in the fishing community is at least get a membership, at least, do something to get involved. That money supports a lot of good causes that we do. It's not a lot of money, but what that goes for is tremendous and keeping our fishery alive.
And what's amazing to me is people will complain about joining up and, what is FGA going to do to me? Why should I spend my It's $35.
Right.
For one, that's one argument I have. And then another thing is, well, if you're going to look for reasons not to get involved, then just stay at home. Pick up golf and drop your fishing poles.
Don't complain. That's why. Don't be the backseat guy, man.
Yeah, if you're not involved and you want to get involved, don't look for reasons not to get involved, because there's plenty of them out there, and a lot of guys that have been around the block a few times are over it. Some of these industry leaders that will remain unnamed that I talk to are just, good luck, Dylan. You got a long road ahead of you. Good luck with that. And they're just jaded because of the way things have gone. And the only way things will change is through unity. We'll all succeed. If we all stand up for our rights, it's one thing when 200 people show up to a National Marine Fisheries meeting, but if we had 200,000 people show up, just look at Florida Guides alone. Florida Guides Association. So anybody in Florida who's a guide, or any angler in Florida who wants to join, they have 120 members across all the state of Florida, and that's nothing bad on FGA. That's not their fault. No. It's the fault of that apathetic attitude that people have, and we just got to get up, stand up for our rights. I mean, CCA, the Pinellas chapter, how many thousands, millions of anglers do we have? And there's 600 CCA members in Pinellas County. Yeah. It's just ridiculous. Look at NRA. No one will mess with gun rights. NRA is too strong. It's political suicide to talk about gun control when you're running for office, because the NRA and their lobbyists are so strong. And that's only because they have a lot of members. Mm-hmm. If everybody out there listening was a FGA member, I mean, membership would triple overnight, and then all of a sudden...
Membership is strong. Whether you use your voice or we take your head count, it's strong. I mean, that's really what it boils down to.
And if you're sitting there thinking, well, how can I get involved? How can I go to the meetings? If you can't go to the meetings, pay $35.
Right.
That's right.
That way your head is included in the numbers. That's why when the FGA goes to these meetings, instead of having 120 people behind them, they've got 10,000 behind them.
That's right.
That means a lot.
That's a lot of votes.
It does mean a lot. But guys, I think we're getting close. What, we got about a minute, so I'm gonna kind of close her down here, Rick. I know we didn't get a lot of inshore fishing guys, but we got a lot of good stuff offshore.
Dylan, give us some numbers and
there it is.
And ways to reach you guys.
Numbers as far as fishing? That's
no,
over your head.
No. Phone numbers if somebody wants to call and go fishing. And websites and all that good jazz.
Yeah, you can look us up, hubbardsmarina.com. You can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or the FishBrain app. We do a lot of seminars, whether it's at Bass Pro Shops, at the Marina, or at St. Pete Fishing Outfitters, or many other places. So you can always link up with us through social media, where we announce that. We also do an email newsletter once a week to tell you what's going on out there, what we're catching. You can sign up for that on the bottom right of our website. And definitely check out Fishermen United on Facebook, that little group where we're passing out information. And it's a great place to get more information on the FGA as well.
Awesome. Well, Dylan, we appreciate it. Yeah. Rick, we're going to sign off.
Yes, sir.
Guys, until next time, tight lines and do some fishing.
Remember, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too busy.
You're just too busy. Guys, we appreciate it, and we'll see you next week.